Good afternoon, CMS families. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Family Academy Lunch and Learn. We are all math people supporting your students in high school math. Please take a moment to sign in using the bit.ly that has been shared on the screen, bit.ly/Family Academy sign in. That has been added to our Q&A along with today's slide deck. On the next slide, we'll review our translation supports. If you are in need of translation services on today's call, please select Captions from the top right-hand corner of your screen, followed by Show Live Captions, then select the language of your choosing from the drop-down. Once again, please select Captions, then Show Live Captions, and then select your spoken language from the drop-down of your choosing. And families, we are so excited to engage with you today. And we hope that you are able to engage in our Q&A for any questions you may have for our district specialist on the call. So any questions, please select Q&A. And from there, submit your questions using the drop-down or the text box that appears. And if you have any big ahas, big wows, or wondering moments, we hope that you share a reaction with us just to let us know how this call is going for you. Send us a clap, send us a thumbs up because we want these sessions to meet your needs. And at this time, I am excited to turn it over to our fabulous high school math team. And we have Miss Ballin Bowman on the call and Mr. Leitner, who are going to be taking us through. We are all math people supporting your high school students through math.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Rush. So yeah, I'm Rob Leisner. I'm a high school math specialist with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. And we are all math people in CMS, and our students are all math people. And we want to make sure that your students feel supported. So we're going to give you some tips today on how to do that. So if you would like, we have a bit.ly for the PowerPoint. It's bit.ly/H high school math family CMS, and the capitalization does matter, so please make sure you're close with that. So I'll give you a second to type that in if you would like. Awesome, and thank you all so much for coming today. We are going to go through a couple of activities with you to help introduce you to our math curriculum. We're going to talk about math mindsets, the student experience, what courses and assessments we have, some resources, and then kind of cool down and answer any questions you have. So you do have the question box there, so please, we love questions, so ask away. And by the end, we'll hopefully be able to describe how a math mindset impacts student learning. We all want to make sure that we all believe we're all math people. Identify the structure of CMS math lessons and the state assessments, and locate and use resources to support our students. There is our high school math team. Again, I am Rob Leichner, high school math specialist. Not on the call are Tiara Fender and Angelica Davis. And
good afternoon, everyone. I'm Adrienne Bowman joining all today as well.
Sweet. So there are 6 agreements, and we actually use these agreements with all of our teachers that we work with in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, and sometimes with the students too. But if you can read these over, to get the most out of our session today, if we can all think about these agreements and kind of work with them for the next hour or so. So I'll give you a second quietly to read over these. Awesome. One that I do want to talk about briefly is this last one, use strengths-based language. One thing in CMS, every one of our CMS students is a math person. We don't have low kids in CMS. And I know you all know this as parents, your kid isn't a low kid, and we don't have groups of low kids. All of our students are students that are capable of learning math at a high level and encouraged to learn math at a high level. And we do group students based on what they come in knowing or what their strengths are or what they might need to work on. But in general, we don't have any low students in math and CMS, and it's just something that we really want to think about as we're talking about our students and as we're referring to our students. We know every single one of our students is more than capable of learning higher level math. So, Ms. Bowman, did you want to add anything on any of these?
I just want to bring up the expect and accept non-closure. We're going to be giving you a lot of information today, not all of the information. So just knowing that you may still leave with some questions, but we will leave you some contact information at the end if you did not get any of your questions answered.
Awesome, thank you. So let's get started. So I want you to think for a minute. Do you think you're a math person? Let's sit with that for a couple seconds. Okay, so we're going to watch a video now by Professor Jo Boaler from Stanford University, and she's done a lot of research on being a math person. And as you watch, I want you to think, what's the most important idea to take away from this video, and how will you get these ideas across to the students in your life? So I'm going to be quiet for a minute, and we are going to start this video.
You may have been told or led to believe that some people are math people and some aren't, or that math isn't for you. Well, it turns out that's not true. Everyone is born with the innate ability to do well in math, and whether you do well or not comes from the experiences you've had and the beliefs that you hold.
Everyone can do really well in math.
There may be some people, you know, who seem naturally good at math or just love it when you don't. But that has come about because of experiences they have had. Anyone can get to the highest level of math in school.
There is no such thing as a math person or the idea that some people are math people. Everyone is a math person.
Let's look at the brain evidence. Scientists now know that experiences grow your brain, and the brain is so plastic that it can rewire itself and grow in a really short space of time.
This is how learning works. When you learn something, a synapse fires in your brain. It's like an electric current. And the pathways formed by the synapse are like water in the sand. The more you return to an idea, the stronger the pathway gets. If you don't go back to it, it will wash away. When you learn something, your brain grows, and if you learn it deeply, it grows and stays. So you may think some people are just brainy or smart because they just are, but it all comes from what they've learned. And
you can catch up to them.
When you learn, synapses fire. And this doesn't just happen when you're in a class, it can happen when you read, when you build something, when you have a conversation, when you get an idea, and when you make a mistake. Synapses are firing in your brain every day.
The brain is like a muscle. The more you work the muscle, the more it grows, just like in the gym.
If weightlifters exercise with the same size weights, they wouldn't grow muscles, and they have to keep increasing the weights. It's the same with math. The harder you think, the more you struggle with an idea, the more your brain grows.
Here is some of the evidence that has stunned scientists in recent years and made them realize that everyone's brains can grow and change at any time.
Taxi drivers in London have to learn 20,000 streets and 25,000 landmarks in London before they become qualified. They study for 2 to 4 years, and at the end of that time they take a test which is just simply called the knowledge. When they've finished their training, scientists have found that the hippocampus in their brain is bigger. And the hippocampus is the area of the brain that's specialised in acquiring and using spatial information. When they retire from being a taxi driver, their hippocampus shrinks back down. That's how flexible the brain is.
Scientists took a group of people who could not juggle and split them in half. With one group, they really encouraged them to practice, also showing them some good ways to practice.
Not surprisingly, the group that practiced learned to juggle and the other group didn't. But the practice group also had significant brain changes. They grew the seeing and movement areas of their brains, and they developed more ability.
So the brain is much more plastic than anyone ever thought. In one of the studies, a 6-week training course, when students worked on a task just for a few minutes each day, changed the structure of their brains. And we should think about that. Working on a task for a few minutes per day for 6 weeks can cause your brain to rewire and grow. If that's true, imagine what you can do for your brain over the course of a year in a math lesson.
Wow. So we really are all math people. So think to yourself, maybe even write it down where you are so you remember. What's the most important takeaway from this video? And how are you going to get these ideas across to the students in your lives? Now, a lot of your students probably saw this video during the first couple days of their class this year. Hopefully they did, and they might have even come home and told you this, which is awesome, but we really want to get these ideas spread throughout CMS. And I will say there are more videos that talk about how brains are wired for pattern recognition and different things they'll experience in math class. But this also applies to just about any area of their life. We're all math people. We're also all ELA people. They can learn ELA. We're also all science people and social studies people and music people and world language people. Your students are capable of learning anything if they put the effort in and believe they can. So now we're going to think about something that our students are actually experiencing in class with the way that we're teaching math in CMS. So I want you to think for a second, what do you remember about your experiences in math class? Okay, hopefully they're good memories. Even for me, some are good memories, some aren't. But let's think about now how some of the things that our students are learning about, especially with regards to making mistakes in class. I know when I was in math class, I made a ton of mistakes, and they weren't always a good thing. So let's see what happens.
One of the most exciting things I've learned in recent years that shocks most people I meet is this. When you make a mistake in math, your brain grows. Synapses fire in your brain. In fact, your brain grows when you make a mistake, but when you get work right, no brain growth happens.
When you make a mistake, you don't need to get the right answer. You just need to struggle and think about the mistake for synapses to fire.
That is because struggle and hard thinking are times when your brain grows the most.
This is why it's important in math class to work on hard problems that encourage you to struggle and even make mistakes, as these are the most important times for your brain.
Thomas Edison is a famous inventor. Over 100 years ago, he invented the light bulb, as well as many other important things. He allowed people to have light when it was dark, when previously they only had been able to use candles.
You may think he was just smart and probably didn't have to work hard, but that isn't true. In school, his teachers told him that he was too stupid to learn anything. Maybe that encouraged him more.
But it wasn't easy inventing a light bulb. He made 1,000 mistakes, but he didn't give up. He kept trying. When a reporter asked him how it felt to fail 1,000 times, he said he wasn't failing, he was taking steps. And he created something amazing. He is well known for saying this.
Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration.
There's a lot of evidence of the importance of mistakes in life too. It turns out that what separates the more successful business people from the less successful business people is that the more successful people have made more mistakes.
It is really important to take risks and take on hard challenges. Michael Jordan is a really famous basketball player. He was a
6-time NBA champion, the NBA scoring champion 10 times, and all-time leading scorer for the Chicago Bulls. The NBA's most valuable player 5 times, and he won 2 gold medals in the Olympics. Pretty amazing. This is what he said about his playing.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed.
When experts have studied the difference between successful and unsuccessful business people, they have found that successful people do more of these important things. Try seemingly wild ideas.
Feel comfortable being wrong.
Are open to different experiences.
Play with ideas without judging them.
Keep going through difficulties.
Are willing to go against traditional ideas.
Again, wow. So think, what's the most important idea here to take away from the video? And how can you help your student have a better experience? And also, please remember that we're monitoring the Q&A, the questions and answers. So if you have any questions during the presentation, you can please type them into the Q&A, and we'll be able to see them and respond. Awesome. Yeah, mistakes make us smarter. And I know a lot of us have said that, and you've probably heard that from teachers, but they literally make your brain grow. More dendrites form in your brain when you get something wrong than when you get it right. So in our math classes, we celebrate wrong answers. We celebrate all different ideas. Eventually, yes, we want them to get the answer right, but we have all different strategies to get there. We celebrate different strategies and we celebrate different ideas. And that's really what we're looking for in our math classes. It's not a lot of times like the way that we went to school. And you can see here, this is our CMS math mission and vision. So take a second and read that. This guides what our math classrooms in CMS look like. And it's pretty exciting when you read over it. Also, sorry to interrupt your reading. Molly, if you wouldn't mind looking at the chat and try to fix the Q&A if possible.
Hi there. Our Q&A is live for our families right now.
Are you sure?
The
It
chat,
seems like the chat might
the
be
chat.
live, but the Q&A is not.
So our internal chat is available for our presenters at this time, and our Q&A is visible for our families at this time. Right now, we do not have any questions from our families, but I do believe it is working. I will look into it on our end if you would like to continue.
Okay, well, because I know that the chat is working. People are typing into the chat.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking into it
Mm.
right now if you want to continue through with the presentation.
Okay, thanks, Molly. Sorry, everyone. Okay, back to the CMS Math Mission and Vision. Awesome. So think about your students and when they come home from school and when they're talking about their math class, if they're talking about experiences that lean into what you see here in the mission and vision, that's really what we're hoping our students get to experience in CMS math classes, where all of our students are math people and mistakes are celebrated. And ultimately, we're all going to make sure that we're learning grade level standards in math class. So part of the way that we do this is kind of a shift in how we think about teaching. When a lot of us went to school, I know when I went to school, it was a lot of I do, we do, you do. So the teacher would really show the students how to do the work. Maybe they would work together on it for a while, and then they would demonstrate they could do it themselves. Teaching in this way really takes a lot of the critical thinking and the discovery and the student voice out of the classroom. And if you think about all the things that were in our CMS Math Mission and Vision, we really want that. We want students to be thinking and discovering and bring that student voice and bring their ideas in. So the way we do it now is more of a you do, we do, and then synthesize. So the students have the first chance to explore our math concepts, make connections to previous concepts, really have fun and try out all different ideas, just like we saw in that video. Some are going to be right, some are going to be wrong, some are going to be partially right, and either way, we're okay with that because we want them to be exploring and trying out their wild ideas. Then they'll have the chance to work together and compare their ideas with each other and hopefully get to that point where they're making even more connections. Finally, the teacher will be able to facilitate this class-wide discussion to make those connections and make sure that the math concept and the math goals that we're looking to get out there do make it out into the classroom. Because even though we're kind of switching it around, we're flipping the script. Instead of I do, we do, you do, it's more of a you do, we do, synthesize. We still want to make sure that our students do leave the classroom understanding the math goals for the day. But this way, more of the student voice, more of the student ideas come in, and those key critical thinking and collaboration skills that all of our employers say that our students are going to need in the 21st century come out into that classroom. So now we're going to turn it over a little bit, and Adrian's going to introduce you to some of the more specific resources that we have in CMS.
Great, thank you, Rob. I think we do have a few questions coming in the Q&A that I'll refer you to as I go through. I'm going to give you a lot of information, and then I'm going to pause at the end of each slide to let you look at what's on the slide and get any of your questions in, because we're going to start talking about some specifics to the courses that are offered here in CMS. So the progression of math in CMS is an integrated math. You may be familiar with Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, but in North Carolina, we have Math 1, Math 2, and Math 3. Students need all three of these courses for graduation. Some students start these courses in middle school. Math 1 and Math 3 are our two courses that have an end of course test. So they have a state test at the end of the year. Math 2 does not. All three of the courses, though, have a district curriculum that they follow that was made for CMS. The fourth math that students take will really depend on their post-high school goals. So it's really important when your student gets to selecting that fourth math that there's a conversation with their counselor to decide which math is appropriate for their goals after high school. All of the non-AP courses, so Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, Math 4, and Discrete, do have honors options available as well, and we'll talk a little bit about what is required in honors courses in just a moment. So I'll pause now to let you to review the slide and get any questions you may have into the Q&A. So I think there has been some questions about assessments and tests as well. On the left side of the screen, you will see an example from a Math 1 activity in the CMS curriculum. And on the right side, you will see an example of an end of course test question from the Math 1 test. So I'll give you a second to look at both questions or both tasks. And I just want you to compare and contrast the two activities. You do not feel like you have to sit and do the math unless you really, really want to, but I just want you to take a look at some similarities and differences between the activities that we do in our classrooms and the way students are tested at the end of the year. All right, a few things I'd like to point out is that In both activities, we're looking at the same type of function. So our tasks do align to what is being tested on the end of course test. So these are both linear equations. They both are also talking about the same part of the linear equation, the y-intercept. However, the task on the left goes even further by talking about the slope. And in both questions, students are asked to interpret the meaning in the situation. So the tasks in our curriculum are directly aligned to what students are being tested on. They are often open-ended, unlike the EOC test questions, which are multiple choice. The fact that they're open-ended allows for teachers to see what students really do know by having them show their work and explain their thinking. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier that all of our courses that are not AP also have an honors option. So honors classes have additional requirements. Here's an example of a few things that they may be expected to do: independent investigation, intentional differentiation, inquiry and connections, depth and complexity, collaboration, and an increased pace. The picture on the screen is a link that will take you to the specifics of the honors courses. And remember, you have access to this slide deck. So after the presentation, feel free to go back to this slide, click on the image, and you can go through the NCDPI expectations for honors courses. All right, I want to get into a few of the resources that we have here in CMS. There are three main ones that I want to talk about. The first one are instructional videos. For Math 1 and Math 3, we have videos guiding students through activities directly from the curriculum. For Math 2, we have supplemental videos that are offered. We also have curricular materials that parents can look at. Our Math 1, 2, and 3 curriculum are open source, meaning anybody has access to them. There are actually several districts around North Carolina who have chosen to use our adopted curriculum. If you click on the link to that website, you will be able to access all of the materials that students are using in class. And lastly, there are family letters available for Math 1, 2, and 3 that go through each unit of study. They give you an overview of what's being covered, and they have some ideas for how you can support your student at home. I'm going to go ahead and give you an example of one of the instructional videos so you can kind of experience that. But again, after the presentation, feel free to come back to this slide to explore all of those other resources. And so the video we're going to watch is an example from a Math 1 activity.
Hi! Now we're going to look at more equations and graphs to really see how these numbers relate to each other in different situations. First, take a minute and pause the video. What do you notice or wonder about these graphs? As you can see there, I noticed and wondered a lot. I noticed that the graphs are all straight lines, so they probably have a y equals mx plus b equation. I noticed they're all going down from left to right, so they're probably going to have negative slopes. And I noticed they all have real-world contexts because I looked at the labels on the axes. There's the amount of time or amount of in the tank after a certain amount of time, and the number of potato wedges with chicken tenders. I did have some questions too, though. I wondered why the graphs are only in the first quadrant. There's no negative numbers. Also, I wondered what's the slope of each graph. Can we tell the slope just by looking? I can. It looks kind of tricky. Now, once again, it's a good idea to write down these observations so you can refer to them later. And if you're in class, your teacher probably collected and displayed them for everyone to see, just like I did here in this video. So now, let's go deeper and work with these ideas. So I'll tell you, the first graph represents A equals 450 minus 20T, which describes the relationship between gallons of water in a tank and the time in minutes. Where do you see 450 and negative 20 on that graph? Pause the video to think, and then we'll discuss it. Did you find them? I did. The 450 is the vertical intercept on the graph. It's on the y-axis where x equals 0. Remember, we say that's the vertical intercept, if you can read my messy writing. That's the number of gallons of water in the tank at the beginning before any drained out.
All right, so that's just a quick example of what the videos look like. They're great for students who have missed class or when teachers have to be out for various reasons. They have a substitute, or if students just want to go back over the activities from the day. A few people asked in the Q&A about helping their students at home. So hopefully those instructional videos is one way that you can help students at home, even if you're not sure how to do the math. And also, since we don't have a traditional textbook, we have those open source materials where you can see the student workbooks and you can see the teacher workbooks. So you can see what students are working on each day. Lastly, some people asked about test prep. So as you know, I mentioned earlier, Math 1 and Math 3 have an end of course test. The other classes do have a final exam, but that's just given by the teacher in Mastery Connect or on paper. It is not a state-created test, whereas Math 1 and Math 3 are. So here we have linked the test specs. They'll tell you like how many questions are on the test, what topics are on the test, a little bit of information about the calculator. There is a release test that has some questions that have been on a previous EOC test, and the answers are in there as well. Lastly is the North Carolina Desmos calculator, which is the calculator that they use on the test. Having students practice using that calculator at home is very beneficial so that when they get to the test, they are very familiar with how to use it. Also, some of you may have students that are in the age where they're ready to take the ACT or the SAT. We have a few practice resources available on this slide as well. The last opportunity we want to share is that the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library offers free tutoring sessions each week from tutor.com to our students. If you are interested in this free resource, you'll click on the link to go to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library website and click on Services and look into how to sign your student up for these 15 free tutoring sessions. So we've covered a lot so far. I want to just recap some of the important takeaways. All students can do complex grade level tasks, and we are all math people. CMS is shifting from a teacher-centered, more traditional classroom to a student-centered classroom experience. Math 1 and Math 3 courses have an end-of-course state test and will take MVPA benchmark tests. After Math 3, students have choices as to what to take for their fourth math and should discuss options with their counselor. Also, there are a variety of resources available to students and caregivers from home to support learning. So to wrap up, before we start going through all of our Q&As, there are benchmarks coming up for students that are in Math 1 and Math 3. So if your student is in Math 1 with foundational supports, meaning they are in Math 1 all year long in 9th grade, their benchmark window is coming up on November 17th. A benchmark simply means that they are taking a test on the standards that they've covered so far in their class to see how they are doing and how they are performing and how they are mastering that information. Your student's teacher will be able to provide you with a printout of how your student did on the benchmark after the window closes on November 25th. Students taking Honors Math 1 or Math 3 in just a semester will take their benchmark on December 1st. Their benchmark will be much more comprehensive since they are getting towards the end of the semester and getting ready to take their end of course exam. All students will take their final exams if they are in a semester course during the week of January 14th through January 21st. If you find yourself having additional questions after this session, there is an email address there on the left side that goes to our team, HS Math Career Specialist at cms.k12.nc.us, and we would love to help you navigate any resources that you may need for your student.
Thank you so much to our math team for such a comprehensive overview of our math curriculum and all of these wonderful supports and resources. And thank you for flagging that we have a new feature on our town halls with the public chat. I have tried to move all of those questions over to our Q&A side as well. If this is a great time, we'll go ahead and start diving into our questions from our community. Please add, if you still have some families, a few quick highlights is all of these links can be found within that bit.ly that has been shared by the math team, bit.ly/HS math family CMS. I have it added in the Q&A as well as within our chat feature. To begin our questions, and I know some of them may have already been answered, but we'll go ahead and ask them again. What is the best advice and guidance we have for our families regarding helping their students without a textbook? We have a few different questions on how to support at home, reteach skills, or catch up on absences without a textbook. So what guidance can we provide?
So I will say you saw the resources that were shared. We don't have, so the workbook that students get is very comprehensive. It actually has all of the activities in it. Now students write in it, it's a workbook, but it really is a textbook. They're available on the website also if you need to access it at home. But then also at the end of every single lesson, there's a math explanation, which is kind of like you'd say traditional textbooky part of the book, but it's at the end of each lesson, not at the beginning. Because like we talked about, we're looking at the kind of launch, explore, discuss, the you do, we do, synthesize, so students can have that critical thinking opportunity and explore the math concepts. But in the workbook, in the textbook, there is also an explanation of the math in every lesson. Or you can go to the instructional videos like you saw before. So I hope that helps.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Great resources and an easy link. Our next question is, how do we support our students with the test taking side of math? He's doing great with his classwork, but not so good on tests.
Well, probably two answers for this. One, if we're talking about unit tests throughout the year, we know in CMS that a test is just a representation of one student on one day, and that is why CMS has a retest policy. So if students take the unit test the first time and they don't perform as well as they like, as long as they have some sort of opportunity to practice in between, they are allowed to retest. If we're talking about end of course tests, more standardized testing, with that, I would say practicing with the format of the test, using those release tests so they get comfortable with the format, and making sure that their teacher is providing them opportunities to practice taking tests on the computer online, since that's the platform they will be using, as well as them practicing using the NC Test Desmos so that they know how to use that technology on the test and that's not hanging them up.
Can I add also, for the unit tests, A lot of the unit test questions, some are multiple choice, but a lot of them do ask students to explain and everything. Those are the same types of things that they're doing in class during their activities. They're explaining their answers, they're discussing their reasoning. So the more that the students are practicing those skills in class, the better they'll do on the test, because a lot of the test questions are very similar to questions they'll see in class activities or in classroom cooldowns.
Wonderful. Thank you. Our next question is, we're new to CMS. Is this a new way of teaching math this year? Our other school taught it one way, and this is very exciting.
So glad to hear you're excited about it. I would say it's new over the past probably 10 years or so, but it is going a lot bigger than CMS. All across the state, like Adrian said, schools are adopting math curricula that help guide teachers to guide students in this type of learning, because we do want to bring more student voice and student ideas into the classroom. Realistically, the way that a lot of us learned math, step by step by step, AI can do all that for us. Our students need to be able to think. So this type of teaching is really going to get our students to that point where they can think critically about ideas and understand patterns and really help them be successful in the future.
Wonderful. Great real world context and very applicable to our learning right now. Our next question is for our more advanced learners. After AP Pre-Cal and AP Statistics, is there another math option for our learners?
Yes, absolutely. AP Calculus, AB and BC are offered at most, if not all, schools. Also, there are partnerships with the local community college with CPCC for students to take CPCC courses. So that would be something to talk to your student's counselor about to see what opportunities there are. But otherwise, most students would take AP Calculus next. And then if they have exhausted all of the courses offered at their high school, then they would look into going to CPCC for additional classes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have a few questions that are geared a little bit towards middle school, and families, I'm going to highlight that this is our high school math team. So if they are not able to answer the questions, what we're going to share is a follow-up via email to those particular questions. So if there's any questions that aren't able to be answered, please connect to our department and we're happy to support. The first of which is, for middle school, what courses can students attend from that math lens for middle school?
So middle school students do have the opportunity to take high school math classes. We have a district rubric that shows, based on lots of different data points, if students are prepared mathematically to take them. But they can take Math 1 potentially in 7th grade or in 8th grade. And then if they take Math 1 in 7th, they would take Math 2 in 8th grade.
Thank you. And a follow-up question for that would be, for our middle school students who do take Math 1, are the EOCs different than a standard 7th grade math assessment?
So yeah, so if you take 7th grade Math 1, you're also required to take the 7th grade Math EOG. And teachers build in additional resources to make sure that students are prepared to master both Math 1 and 7th grade math in 7th grade, because 7th grade does have important foundations.
But they take 2 tests.
So they take 2 tests in 7th grade. If they take 7th grade Math 1, they take 2 tests. If they take Math 1 in 8th grade, they only take 1 test, and it's the 8th grade. It's the Math 1 EOC. They don't take the Math 8 EOG. So because there's a lot of overlap there, and the Math 1 EOC counts as their measure for that grade level.
Thank you so much. Very informative for our middle school learners who are moving through this math space. Our next question comes from, a curiosity on that learning process. Are teachers teaching our students how to do this work through this model, or is there an expectation of them already knowing and just doing more of a review? If you maybe can do a quick overview of that process of learning.
Great. So I think I heard 2 things there. So one is that As far as what students already know and reviewing what they already know, the Math 1, 2, and 3 curriculum do have pre-assessments built in. They're called Check Your Readiness throughout each unit that students should take to show, all right, do I already know the things that I need to be able to move forward? So it gives teachers an idea of where they are. But the expectation is that teachers are teaching on grade level content. And then when they see that students have gaps or they have needs, then they're building in opportunities for additional practice. Now, every school does that a little bit differently. Some schools have a particular block of time that they use each day to help students with some prerequisite skills that they may need support with. Some schools do small group instruction, or they do pullouts and they'll pull a small group out. Most, if not all, schools offer after-school tutoring as well. So all teachers are teaching on grade level content, but they also are aware of what students may need from previous grade levels to support them to be successful in their current grade.
Thank you. An extension of that question, I heard a lot of our schools offer in-person tutoring to support possibly. What options are there for some in-person support specifically for students who might have different needs, such as an EC student or a talented and gifted development student within this math space?
So a lot of that is school-based. You can definitely speak with your teacher about the options that are available through your school. If it's a student that receives services through an IEP, definitely please reach out to the school and the EC department and or AIG department. They'll be able to support in making sure that they get those services. Other than that, also like we said before, the library through tutor.com does provide free tutoring sessions, and every CMS student has a library card through their student ID number. So please take advantage of that. But most of the tutoring services in person are school-based, either through a teacher or through another program at the school.
Thank you. Great information to always lean into our schools as our first line of defense. Those are the teachers and the instructional specialists that know your student best and will be able to meet those unique needs of your learner. Our next question comes regarding those family letters. Are those available on the CMS website, and where can we find those?
Currently, they are linked on this deck, and the teachers all have access to them. And it's our hope that the teachers post them and print them out and send them home. But I do know that doesn't always happen. So it sounds like adding them to our website might be a great way to make them more accessible if teachers in classrooms are not sending them home with students. So I'll make a note of that. Thank you for that feedback.
Absolutely. And families, please make sure to view the family portal on the CMS website. This is a great one-stop shop. We do have our Math 1 resources included on our family portal, and we'll make sure the Math 2 and 3 are updated as well. But for all of your resources, always that's a great spot to look also for any of your pathway needs. Our next question is, are there Blackline master links that CMS uses?
So the Blackline masters are really more for an educator that's interested in doing this in their classroom. Those are the things that teachers print out and make copies of to give to students. So if there was like a card sort activity where they cut out the cards and sort them, not to say that you can't at home print out the activities and do them with your students, but that's what they are. They're just additional resources that teachers would need to do the activities in their own classroom.
Thank you. Can you highlight the difference between our benchmarks and what a midterm assessment is and what those tests mean?
Sure, yeah. So the benchmarks are nationally normed tests through an outside company that they're called, it's the MVPA is the company. And every student across the district takes the exact same test, and we're able to use that to analyze the data. Teachers can use it to see specifically where their students need some more help and what their strengths are. And and to make sure that they're on pace, prepared for the end of course, the state end of course test. The midterms are they're more in-class tests. They're also, depending on the course, sometimes it's a district midterm or sometimes it's teacher developed, but that's more of an in-class test that goes towards their grades. The MVPA test doesn't go towards the grades. That's more for helping the teacher determine if they're on pace for the end of course test.
Thank you. Perfect. Great information. Our next question is, how do I know what math class my student is if he is in 10th grade or 11th grade? How do I go about finding that information?
I would say the most reliable way to do that would be to look on Infinite Campus. If you have parent access to Infinite Campus and you can see their schedule.
Absolutely. And our math classes don't go just on grades necessarily. So just because my student's a sophomore, that doesn't guarantee that he's in math too, correct? Is that is that the best way that our family
Yes.
should view this?
Yes, that's correct. So yeah, you can't just assume because of what grade they're in, what course they're in. And of course you can ask your student what course they're in, but also the most reliable thing would probably be Infinite Campus to know just for sure that they have the right course.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And actually, I just found out this morning, Infinite Campus is the only way to see your students' report cards this year if they're in 3rd through 12th grade. So please download that so you can see how they're doing in class.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely want to stay aware of our students' grades. Regarding the final grades, our EOCs, do they stay as the final grade within the marking period, or is there other grades that students will receive after that assessment?
So the final exam for high school, the final exam counts as 20% of the grade, whether it's a state test or a teacher, like that's pretty much every class. It's not the total grade for the whole class. So like you have your quarter 1 grade, your quarter 2 grade, and the EOC. So the EOC is just 20% of the grade. Your whole grade is not determined based on one test.
Thank you. Are students able to take multiple math classes within the same academic year? For example, a Math 2 within the first semester and Math 3 within the second?
That is typically a school-based decision. It depends a lot on how the master schedule is set up and the number of teachers they have teaching each course. It's not extremely common. Most students just take one math per year, but there are instances where students have doubled up for whatever reason. So I would definitely recommend talking to your counselor if there is a reason why you would like your student to take 2 maths in 1 year, if there's a particular course that you're trying to have them take before they graduate or something like that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We have one question. Is the free tutor.com resource through the library only for our CMS students?
That's for anybody with a library card. So if you live in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County or Mecklenburg County and have a library card, you can access it. If you live outside of Mecklenburg County and pay to have a Mecklenburg County library card, you can also access it.
Thank you. Our next question is, are there answer keys available to support learning at home? As a parent, they've been using them to reacquaint themselves with the content and to support their students. Is there an opportunity for that or a resource that we should direct our families to?
So we do not post the answer keys publicly for people to use, and we don't recommend that our teachers send home answer keys just because of security reasons, and multiple districts are using this resource, so we don't necessarily want answer keys being posted online. But the reality is, in the world we live in, if somebody wants to get their hands on an answer key, they can. But I would, if the course is Math 1 or Math 3, Math 1 in particular, those instructional videos do go through the answers to all of the activities. They just don't go through the practice problems yet. So that would be my recommendation. If teachers are assigning particular practice problems and they want to provide you with the answers to those practice problems to go over with your student through their own kind of platform of communication, they could do that as well. But we don't have the answer keys to the curriculum just posted on our public website currently.
As much as the students want us to.
Oh, I'm sure they would be very excited to see that become available. Thank you for sharing that. What would you suggest to a family that may have concerns about grades based on grades not being added into the grade book? How should they approach those conversations with their child's teacher?
Thank you. Yeah, because I know that can be a really frustrating situation. I would say just reach out to your child's teacher and just make a very nice. I mean, teachers are really, really busy and they're doing the best they can. But it also is important for students to receive the feedbacks to make sure they know how they're doing. So just respectfully talk to your child's teacher and school, and that's probably the best course to take with that.
Thank you. Do all CMS students take the same unit tests and midterm assessments?
For Math 1, 2, and 3, yes. With an asterisk that schools do have some autonomy on unit tests. And so they may choose to add additional questions or adjust things, but the short answer to that is yes.
Thank you. Can you please re-highlight where our family should go to find resources for Math 3, the test link, or any of those materials?
So all the Math 3 resources are available on the CMS high school website, high school math website, linked through this PowerPoint. Again, the PowerPoint is bit.ly. It's on the bottom of the screen here, /HS Math Family CMS, and the case does matter. So please, it's case sensitive. But you'll be able to get to all of these links through this PowerPoint. But yeah, all the Math 3 resources are available on that CMS high school math website. The tests are not available there. The tests you'll have to get from your teacher.
Thank you. And our last question for the day to close us out would just be if there's a math test or a math class such as Math 2 that does not have an EOC at the end, can you please explain what goes into the grading for math credit for the student to receive their math credit?
Yeah, so it will be graded the same way as Math 1 and Math 3. The big difference being that the final exam, that's 20% of their grade, is not a state-created test. So there is a district Math 2 final that students will take, and it will still count as 20% of their grade. They still have a midterm, and they still have the perform, rehearse, and prepare parts of their grade. So it is the grading procedure and policy for Math 2 will be exactly the same as Math 1 and Math 3. The only difference is the type of test that they take at the end.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing about how our math students can learn, grow, develop, and share everything that they've been able to accomplish throughout these courses. We are excited, families, to continue to connect and support you. A big special thanks to our fabulous high school math specialists for sharing such comprehensive resources. We hope you're able to join us next week for our next Lunch and Learn. We hope you have a terrific Thursday, and we hope to see you soon.